Hey Bravehearts, welcome to Phoenix Convention Center, and I'm here with Dr. Judy and
Jerry Norskog, CEO, Omnitura.
Okay, and you gotta speak nice and loud because they'll chime in and go, we can't hear you. Okay, all right. So anyways, you know what? This one here is called A Dose of Lies. Now understand something, okay? We've had more than a dose of lies, but let's talk about, if we were to reverse it, it's called Lidos.
Yeah.
Judy?
And who is Lidos? Lidos is capital L-E-I-D-O-S. And it's a defense contractor. But before it was the defense contractor that put that bioweapon screener in the airport.
Guys, you want to listen to this because guess what? You have no idea what you are doing to yourself and your children, your family. And if you got the V, then guess what? You are going to light that sucker on fire. Are you getting this? Here's your wake-up call, Judy.
Yeah, and it's any Vs, any
V.
If you shoot yourself with pills, if you inject yourself with some of the injectables that are on TV, if you inject yourself, if you allow yourself to be injected with anything, you know, all of those V's were those nanobots, those nanotech, those synthetic viruses, monkey viruses, mouse viruses, cow viruses, pig viruses, avian viruses from all those chicken eggs. All of those viruses are then made synthetic in the laboratory with a synthetic, as we all know, piece of mRNA manufactured, capital N, not little m from cows, well, all the things I just said prior to 2019. When we built these switches, the Lidos machine in the airport.
You know, the one where you put your hands up and they do the whole x-ray and it goes around, okay? That one, guys.
Yeah, so that Lidos is literally the contractor for the National Cancer Institute and the contract employees. Yes, but all the way back to 2001 when I left the Cancer Institute, all the way back to the mid-90s when, of course, HIV was a created virus causing human immune deficiency. It never was the lymphadenopathy virus that was associated with gay-related immune deficiency, AIDS. So we injected those viruses, all those bioweapons, and Lidos, your defense contractor, is now hitting detonate switches for every bioweapon you injected over the last 30 years, unchecked by the federal government, as no one in your federal government, in the entire Health and Human Services, actually obeyed the 1986 Act that Ronald Reagan signed into federal law about childhood injuries from vaccines. So watch the movie 1986theact.com and then see how far this plague of corruption goes back.
Oh, you have no clue. You have no clue. If you actually knew, okay, yeah, you're going to go through some anger, but you don't want to stay there long because they want you to be angry because they know that you can't do anything about it because the majority of the population rules, but the majority of the population is only being ruled, schooled, and fooled. And understand, if you're not going to get a full body massage, okay, when you go through and you want to go through the Lidos machine, okay, then guess what? They're going to activate every vaccine that you've taken. And remember something.
Meaning every cancer-causing virus they injected, and there are dozens of them in addition to SV40. Literally, they activated what it injected and caused the cancer. It's turbo cancer because they weaponized it. And you walk through that airport. You put your face and let them take a photo and energize with a bioweapon the iris of your eyes. You allow them to blind you. You allow them. They are experimenting on the American people. And who do they let walk through? Oh, the illegal aliens. Oh, they, the children, they actually don't put through that. They put them through the normal x-ray because they know they will sterilize and kill the children, and then the people will see it.
Then there'll be riots in the street,
Correct.
but who gives a crap about you?
Right.
Okay, and understand something. It even goes further than that. You've heard me talk about it. You know, Bill Gates doing his 5-year contract with Pepsi and Coke to actually put the same thing in your addictive drink that's eating your bones, destroying your nervous system already, even if they didn't put those bloody nanos in there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
because you weaponized your food when you genetically modified it. God didn't need help. Any genetically modified food is by definition a poison, and it actually creates new mRNA, creates toxic metabolites because those aren't the metabolites you expect. So everything about your world you've been lied to, but you're participating in that lie because you're the sheep that don't ask questions and don't come along. You don't create a long line at the airport so that those of us who opt out of the bioweapon, I always say that all you have to do is walk up after you put your suitcase on and say to the guy running it through, say, opt out.
I opt out.
I say I opt out of the bioweapon, and they sit you over in a chair so they can. I stand, and they stigmatize you and they leave you there so you'll almost miss your flight. They torture you. How about if there were 20 of us standing in that line and we all opted out and we tortured them?
They held me for over an hour once. One time, that was it, but the rest wasn't so bad. But guess what? In that hour, people were going, because when you're here to the side, people go, are you going? Are you going? I'm going, no, I've opted out. And I go, because I wouldn't dare go through that because that's radiation. Okay, thank you. And the person walks through. Let me tell you something. Humans are as dumb as stump. Okay? I mean, I was there. Ask Lori. I was there for an hour. Okay? They just let me sit there. And I did miss my flight. One time, though. But the rest was 10 minutes, but this time was...
They tortured me once in Austin because, of course, they knew I was there filming with Mickey in Plandemic. They're particularly hard on us in certain airports. But even on my way here in Burbank Airport a few days ago coming to Phoenix, the guy... obviously didn't like my Make America Healthy Again hat, and he held me over there. But the blessing in all of it, like Doc is saying here, was that everybody's like, "Ooh, I like your hat. Do you like Kennedy?" So finally, he got the lady out there to do this because it was actually backfiring on him because they were asking me, and they're like, "Oh, I want to opt out too." So you can turn the table and still have fun if you always wear a message and always keep the expression on it.
Don't think you're going to be treated with respect if you don't have any for yourself.
Right.
And understand something. You know what? They grow humans on this planet like they grow everything else to harvest. And the harvest will stop as soon as we stop feeding them. I mean, did you ever watch Monsters, Inc. or Matrix? I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But again, it's very difficult, and that's one of the reasons I'm particularly excited about Bobby Kennedy and the MAHA movement in the Trump administration, is because all of that disobedience of the 1986 Act, everyone in Congress is guilty at some level. And this gives Kennedy and Trump a lot of leverage. We all know about Vani Hari, the food babe, and how Kellogg's put, they said in 2015 that wasn't in our food. So they conned us, they lied to us, and said it wasn't there anymore, and actually published the fact that they agreed with us, anti-vaxxers. And then they came back and they just poisoned us. So, these are lawsuits we have, but so, the food babe is right there. And so now people are waking up, and now we know the criminals that let this happen, that let pharma, the Senate majority leader, anybody that took money from pharma, anybody that allowed the FDA to experiment on humans and disobey the law, to make us make label claims on our God. No, the 2004 Botanical Drug Guidance Act, and how we can take God's natural products and make drugs, not synthetics, not prescription drugs, you see, because you don't need a prescription if you're just making extracts from plants. I'm just cooking, and I use the energy of the plants, and I make an
Judy's
extract.
in the kitchen.
I'm in the kitchen.
She's cooking.
And I'm in the bar because we need to alcohol extract some of the phenolic, I'm just kidding, and the terpenes and the purines that you need to heal your cells. Bee pollen is where we get in nature vitamin A, D, K, and E. You don't take them, you make them. You make glutathione. The product that fits for glutathione and all that you do is ProImmune. It's on our website. And ProImmune,
What is your website?
Crum, therealdrjudy.com.
That's right.
Therealdrjudy.com. And you see the why, because ProImmune, Dr. Crum is 92 years old. And the government denied him, but this thing is ever so quietly ProImmune, and Paximune just is a true Paximune, Paximune, is bovine interferon, and that is actually a vaccine, an immunization that is exactly what you expect, and you can do it as a nasal spray, and all the FDA allows you to put on Paximune. Therefore, crippling the knowledge is bovine proteins. And yet they didn't put bovine proteins on the label of their drinks or weaponized brewer's yeast. They didn't put GMO toxic metabolite that causes the zoonosis, the trends in parasitology. It's all pollution. So you see, when you clean up the pollution, the climate is normal, it's homeostasis. And we change the language back into healing. Then the Botanical Drug Guidance Act, that and the entire world can benefit, pharma and not, from our patents, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
And we're going to talk about their patents, but understand something. Judy's doing the Real Dr. Judy show on Braveheart Nation TV, January 6th, 12 Eastern Standard Time. First show. She'll be on weekly. And then guess what? I want you to come and watch the show. But then what's going to happen is from there, the training starts. Because then you go to her website, and then she's got Q&As. She's got so much training, so much information. Okay, come on. Let's bring the thunder down. Judy, go.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So for the last, 20 years, 25 years, we haven't sat around and done nothing. We just continued to develop the botanical drug that's already been through the long-term safety studies, that's already been curing certain cancers in combination with some of the energy therapies. We'll use things like the Hocket. We'll use things that Layla Sentner just talked about here in the Sentner Academy in the healing spas. We've got Dr. Michael Karlfeldt here now in the Karlfeldt Center in Boise, Idaho. So now we are matching. We can take the med beds and actually nutrify so that they can heal. You're not going to get the med beds because with your soul and your body and no minerals according to God, you will just kill yourself because you can't support it, and they know that. But God knows that too. That's why the door won't open yet until we learn to nutrify, until we learn that water, air, atmospheric oxygen. You don't sleep with a CPAP machine. You don't cut off
It's
body
all ridiculous.
parts.
It's all ridiculous. And understand, I want you guys to talk about the patents that you own and what you're going to be up to and what you are going to do once Bobby rolls out the carpet.
Yeah, once Bobby's the head of HHS,
Yeah.
then everybody
What are you
going
to do? What are you guys going to do? Let people know what you're up to. Guys, this is really, really great.
Well, let me take a shot at that.
Yeah. And you have to
Maybe a
go
little
back to
background from
2000,
me.
right?
Go back to, you hear, hang in here for the story,
Should I
okay?
give a
great.
little background?
Yeah, here's a
So,
backstory and you'll get it.
I'm 30. I had a 30-year career with Johnson & Johnson. And I would not demonize the people in this company. But let's just say that after 30 years of launching products for chronic diseases and seeing them do very little, I became very disappointed because all we talked about was the cure. But if you looked at the pipeline of all pharmaceutical drugs, there is not a cure in anyone's pipeline.
There'll never be one.
And it's physics. You think of the system biology, and the idea that you could, with a blunt tool, block something, and voila, the so-called silver bullet, never existed. It was always about selling us hope. It was always about selling us secure, and it was all about fear. And so, when I ended my career, there were a few things that were stuck in my head, and one was that I had never done anything for chronic disease, and that this was, the biggest
But meanwhile,
issue.
you were there for that. That's what you were there for, basically.
We were there for that.
Well, that was the storyline.
That was the storyline. So I joined THUR and Genius with other like-minded people who believed that a cure was possible, who understood that it was impossible with synthetic pharmaceutical single-target drugs. And we set about to discover and develop something we thought would be a cure. To find that chemistry, we had to return to plants, and that's a rich history of plants. And we did a search to find exactly which plants would allow us to modulate the targets and the pathways for the pathogenesis of cancer, and therefore would help
when were you
us.
guys doing this? When was this?
2000.
2000.
From 2000.
25 years ago,
Yeah.
a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And I took the data from the National Cancer Institute when I moved to, it was out of the UC Santa Barbara part of this team. So I took the small business loan to Epigenics Pharmaceuticals. We became partners very early. So Epigenics is the epigenetics, the expression of the genes. So we own the diagnostic signatures of
Did
the
you
disease.
get that? Did you
We
get
own
that?
the diagnostic PCRs.
Did you get
we
that?
own the diagnostic antibody test.
Did you get that?
We own the multiplex diagnostic signatures, chemokine, cytokine
Did
of
you get that?
disease. And it came from your National Cancer Institute from my
She
almost
owns this.
22 years of work. When I left May 11th of 2001, I got married October 7th of 2000. And then, even then, we continued to maintain a property in Frederick, Maryland and collaborate. So the Noldes own all of the patents. Dr. Judy Mikovits never did anything or signed a signature as a name other than my curriculum vitae for my publications for anything I ever did. So now you can break down the entire lie that was the pandemic plague of corruption engineered by Harvey Whittemore, Tony Fauci, Harry Reid, and that corrupt HHS. And that's all memorialized in testimony, God's testimony and court-held testimony. It takes down the entire DOJ, that takes down the entire everything about the medical industrial complex, and Genius Omnitura, Judy Nolde, Epigenics Pharmaceuticals, even though they were run out of business from 911. So 911 had the opportunity to spread a little anthrax and the opportunity to drive an explosion of cancer that now with the bioweapons that they're detonating timing by the Leidos Cancer Institute, your perfect timing. It's not turbo cancer. They're detonating what they got us with in 2000.
Look at how
2001.
unholy these people are. I hope you're getting this, okay? All right? I hope you're getting this, everyone.
But you see, but also getting that God was first. And God had godly people here that now we can actually have a conversation. John Richardson, Sr., G. Edward Griffin, A World Without Cancer. So we didn't just sit down and do nothing these last 3 years.
Preparing.
We made classes. We collected all the data, all the evidence to make sure if we got the opportunity, we'd preserve for the American people and for the world your intellectual property. There's no such thing as intellectual property. The Bayh-Dole Act that we sold to these corrupt universities, what the taxpayers, that what God's discoveries of how to heal, and then they made chimeras, unicorns, they made synthetics, they tried to say one target, one disease, they tried to make money, a new virus, how many old diseases, and they put this in all their publications. Criminal fraud is the medical literature, every bit of it, and it's not now just me saying it. Now it's exploding at places like Turning Point USA, where we can see the injuries. Ed Dowd's book, Cause Unknown, more millennials killed than the entire Vietnam War.
Did you get
in
that?
2021, and because of the shot, mandated. You can't mandate abortion. And yet Bobby Kennedy is crazy, and he's not pro-life enough. I mean, did anybody have a choice when you mandated that we murder our firstborn? That we take shots? I mean, Jim Thorpe, Kim Bess, look at the doctors who are the devastation. Now more millennials were killed than the entire Vietnam War, and now our children have cancers that 86-year-olds would do. And they knew this was going to happen because I served Frank Rossetti and I with all this knowledge from the 45 years of the
Premeditated murder that goes back 100 years.
And God knows why. But now here's the thing, we're poised. You, the people, you own the patent, along with the National Cancer Institute, along with the Rossettis. You own all of it. NIAID owns nothing. NIAID owns nothing.
So what can we do with it? Where are we going with it?
Well, Bobby's going to give it back to the people. We're going to, as he said, these drugs, the Genius Omnitura drug that is a curative strategy for the most aggressive prostate cancers, that's what the shots cost. That cure has been there for you. The cure has been there.
Prostate cancer cure.
Ebola, Kenton Amber Brantley. Ebola. The cures to Ebola are in the fridge, are in the freezers, and the government owns them, and we saved them. That's the last chapter of Plague of Corruption. That we saved everything. It was close. Some of those fires and escaping on boats, and that's where the God protection. That's what this is all about.
This is
The
actually
faith in
not
the
a movie.
public
This
square.
is just a thriller, but it's real life.
But it's real life of when God shows up. So Jerry Norskog and the Dow family at Genius Omnitura, they never gave up on me. We said, it doesn't matter. Let me take my name off the paper. Frank Rossetti, he put his name on the paper. At great risk and great personal cost as well. Luc Montagnier never gave up. He was murdered February 8th of 2022. We know about the heroes, Rashid Buttar and others, but God put us all in this place to just, it's, go big or go home. We've got, we're going to live the same, but we're going to help that team because we're so close, and they honored us, especially Bobby Kennedy. And you heard, that he humbled himself and said, okay, you can see him cringing with the McDonald's. And so, but then we just a team of rivals that we're all one nation under God. and we're God's team, and we've got to figure out a way to work together. And Jerry is too modest to even tell him the names on the team of the people internationally, starting with
We have an
Stephen B.
amazing group.
Balin and NIH, at Johns Hopkins, Stephen B. Balin, the epigenetics, and then across Canada, names.
Fabulous group. When we began this development, Judy, we were all so frustrated that there were no cures for cancer, and we were convinced that we could create one. And so we began working with Bill and Lena Gerwick at the Scripps Institute at the University of San Diego.
Best marine biologist
in the world, and also we worked with a very talented group in Santa Barbara, Marianne Jordan, Arujaf, and Leslie Wilson, just fabulous people. We also worked with YZ Wong in Vancouver, who has a laboratory there where he is researching the cancers, and he has discovered they are trying to define how to keep cancer from its survival mechanism, how to do that. And we have 9 peer-reviewed journals. We work with University of California, San Francisco, University of Washington. Dan Tosserson at Harvard was one of our original.
Beautiful Simon Sutcliffe.
Simon Sutcliffe, head of cancer control for Canada. Norm Maitland from the University of York in
The
UK.
team in MD Anderson.
MD Anderson, Wong King Hong, the director, was on our advisory board. We benefited, and of course Judy and Frank. So we benefited from extraordinary scientists who then created our first patent. And our first patent was applied for in 2004. The first country to accept our patent was China.
And what was that for?
Prostate cancer.
It was for the prostate cancer. Okay.
Yeah, there's gonna be some elevators.
And so following on that, we thought, well, we have a patent. Let's go see if Big Pharma would be interested in investing in us, because not only did we get a patent for the composition of matter, but we followed that on and we demonstrated that in combination with approved drugs for prostate cancer, we created tremendous synergy. We reduced drug resistance. We reduced
Drug
adverse
dose.
effects. And
Low dose, low cost.
dose,
Isn't
low
that
cost.
just what Elon Musk
Those
asked
would
for?
love this. And so here we are now holding patents, 17-year patents in combination with our drug, Anustat, with Pfizer's Xtandi, with J&J's Zytiga, with Bayer's darolutamide, and with Casodex. We thought, finally, we have something that will allow us to get funding and advance our drug through the FDA botanical drug lines and get approval. Nada. These companies were selling $3 to $5 billion annually of their products, and they're running out of patent. We offered them
but more
17
important-
new years of their patent, and they turned us down.
And the reason they turned you down is because they had free advertising and they had these toxic commercials on TV, and they were creating poison, and the American people were being lied to, and it was all about the money, and it was all about the pharma fraud.
I think
So
you got
now,
it right, Judy. It was the business model.
and now your Doge just said the mandate is reduce the drug costs. Well, we know that Global Healing now has a GLP GLP. Oh, so now we have a microsomal GLP. So you've got a natural botanical, not a snake venom like Ozempic or Montarvi. And then if you're taking those drugs, we'll get the lowest dose down so that they don't cause the psychosis and the horrible side effects, and will eventually get you off. Didn't the Doge just ask us to lower the cost of all drugs? Why should the taxpayers in Medicare be paying $13,000 a month for Lupron? Oh, to chemically castrate our children? The drug they used to murder my stepfather in 1989? We haven't changed the bioweapon. We're still giving people the the drugs as frontline therapy and killing all these people with cancer that they aren't even real cancers. If we could have used this technology and prevented true immunization. I just told you about Paximune, ProImmune, on listed as immunization. You make glutathione, you make NRF2, you go to sleep, you calm down. You don't take Ambien, you get real vitamin C. And so we're partnering, we're here with the patents, and we're partnering with Global Healing in that advanced technology. So how much better can we do it in 2015 and lower even further and create more synergies with the beautiful labs that are world class at Global Healing?
And where are you going to be in a year from now?
Well, we're going to have it all out to the people.
We're going to be on the market.
It's going to be out
on the market.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have it on the market by March. See, all Kennedy needs to do is get confirmed. And then they have they know, and we heard it on the news last night. We heard it right here at Turning Point USA when Tucker Carlson told us on the first night. They are going after and going to bring justice to the people who were J6'd. Well, that would have been me. November 18th, 2011, and that would have destroyed and allowed this clear RICO, Fauci, Newsom, Robert Levin, the head of public health in Ventura. They created all of this, and now premeditated murder of not just some, but around this country. They knew in 2017 when Jason Chaffetz, March 30th and 31st, we went 2 by 2 to our senators and congressmen. And do you know what they did to us? Doctors from every state, beautiful Noenschwinder, Tony Bark, the late Zev Zelenko, late Tony Bark, all of us. We sat with Bobby Kennedy, with Del Bigtree, with Riza Islam, with everyone knowing how our children are being murdered. Right there with Jason Chaffetz in his office.
Really?
Oversight Committee, March 31st, 2017. We were at that press club. Did anybody see that press club? All the doctors all standing there. And we all know what Jason Chaffetz did, and I guarantee you it wasn't his job. Was that COVID? Yeah. When did we know? What did they know, and when did they know it? Watch the high wire from Thanksgiving Day. Oh, they knew all of this. So those institutions who were lied to, NIH, Event 201, pandemic, NIH, right there in October of 19. So the people who we worked with for 30 years, Stephen B. Balin, and we develop all these drugs that could heal people and are not anything patentable and don't cost the American people. And they turned it into evil, but the good people are still there. And now Kennedy and Trump will give it back and will remove the funding from the criminals and the extramural. No more. It's the intramural program. You're not bought and sold, and we're not selling our intellectual property to those corrupt universities, and murdering our children as we're experimenting on them at the lab bench. That's why that Mangione was vaccine injured, who shot that CEO. Put in, like millions who experience that kind of pain. And when you did everything they told you to do and you realize you are going to live your life in pain, and they just walked away from you, all are vaccine injured. And so if, somehow, people can only be pushed so far. No, no, no. We have God right here with us, and godly men who will do the right thing. I'm sorry, Elizabeth Warren, the polio shots caused polio. You just changed the name, and so much more. And all Bobby Kennedy wanted to do was take the deadliest shot away. One vaccine made in the monkey kidney cells with simian virus 40, all the mesothelioma from the 50s and 60s. So one, not the vaccine. Stop saying it and start saying them. Have the manufacturer of anything you call, and that would be Paximune. And yet the FDA has stopped the American people from putting it in its cow food, in its dog food, and creating the nightmare that they've created if they've weaponized.
It's been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare.
But the nightmare is...
But God's got us.
Is over.
And the nightmare is over, and we're smiling.
But we need everybody that's listening too. You got to talk about this. You know what? You're going to be laughed at. You're going to be said you're crazy. Your family's going to say shut up.
Yeah.
And guess what? Every time that you shut up, somebody doesn't get shut down. They get shot down.
Yeah, speak up.
Yeah.
Speak up for God's
honesty.
sakes. Find your ovaries, find your testicles, whatever you need to do. Grab those suckers and hang on tight.
Yeah, and be confident.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big red pill. Let's look forward. We have the answers. We can heal ourselves, and we'll go back to Mother Nature to do that.
Yeah.
This is our
figure.
It's back to the future.
And we have the technology. We do, as Bernadine Healy said in 2008.
This isn't make-believe. This isn't just them, they know what they're talking about. You don't go and put this out into the open like this. You're going to hear about it. Just a few months from now, this is all going to be coming out. It's going to be coming out. And you need to come out.
And please stop leaning on your own understanding. Please stop taking, things like nattokinase just because so-and-so, stop, slow down. They want you to be a chicken with your head cut off. And that's what you look like. It's not jump to the cure du jour. It's sit down, take a stock of your life, look at the poisons. You see how the poisons are being expressed. We've got to stop. It's not the pathogen. It's the fact that you poison the pathways your God gave you to heal, no matter the pathogen.
Poison pathways.
That's
it.
A very good way to say it.
And the paradigm shift. EBV is not a disease, and HIV is not either. When we're diagnosed with HIV, it's similar to HIV. Well, Deborah Birx wasn't lying when she said that. Yeah, it is similar to HIV. It is HIV. It's a variant. And AIDS, acquired immune deficiency, is the disease. But which one? The one that comes from the variant that went along with the little weaponized Borrelia in the animal shots? That variant was called Lyme disease. So Lyme, Connecticut is HIV. Lyme is HIV. So your government has been injecting variants and strains of HIV. And we know the G protein and we know how to fix it. And we've shown that to you for years. They knew, that's why they accelerated the boosters to see if they could get rid of the evidence. There's no such thing as long COVID. It is and always was myalgic encephalomyelitis, and the chronic fatigue syndrome. And it is and always was associated with a different variant. And that's the point. All these data were saved. That's the last chapter of Plague of Corruption. And that's what we handed Bobby Kennedy and General Flynn
until you have the Satanists out of government. And you know what? I would have never said that a few years ago. I thought it was all just BS. But until you have people
cowards
that out of there that get off on murdering people and get off on, just think about it. Close your eyes for a second and think about that. You have the power to torture and murder people and get away with it. You know what? That can be orgasmic to somebody that worships the wrong God or the wrong thing. Okay, they call their God. And I would have never talked like this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I could have processed it.
It's not easy.
I don't think I could process this stuff.
I'm in the same bucket. And it's also,
people say to me, I can't process what you even say, Daryl. And that's only little stuff. But now I'm telling you that, but I have to process it because I can't go in blind anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, waking up is, you know, also waking up to God.
Yes.
I mean, as hard as it is to wake up,
Yeah.
because it destroys everything you thought you knew, and it destroys the trust you had. And, you know, that is a hard thing to swallow. People are so disappointed in themselves that they allowed their family to get vaxxed, disappointed that they weren't awake, that they were trusting.
Yeah,
were
but
just
they also
taking it.
believe that God has deserted them, and that's not true.
Not true.
You deserted yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you deserted your God when you thought you needed to inject your child on the first day of life, or you feared something. You know, some doctor was bullying you, and you said nothing, or you didn't know. And it's not. And this is why when I talk on pandemic, you know, it's hard for me when I was saying that at the end with Mickey, that when I said grandmother. You know, that was my mother I was thinking about. She was so disappointed that they'd lied to her and she'd allowed this to be done to herself, to her children. And she couldn't live with that level of, she wasn't that discerning. And she said, you know, I saved my whole life to give my kids a few $1,000s, and I'm not going to pay some chemo nurse to poison me to death. And, you know, but it's important in this time to know that, you know, God's really there and the courage is really there. And people like Chris Beat Cancer and people that we've been on the road here, just seeing Turning Point USA. You know, we see a lot of injured kids here. These are the kids that don't know. But now you're seeing healing. We just heard Layla Sentner. We've worked with her for years in the Healing Academy. We heard Leanne, she's hysterically funny. The lady that was in TV shows I don't watch because I don't have kids. The mom, and she was so funny yesterday. We heard Roger Stone mixed in. So you were getting the elder and how his wife was healed from cancer. And now we know a world without cancer. You know, John Richardson, G. Edward Griffin, the third of that pandemic movie that focused on G. Edward Griffin. And all of these books are now in our library and in our Get Healthy store, and we save the books. The government tried hard to burn the books, and more importantly, when the government went internet in the late 90s, they wanted to get all the electronic files so they could change all the data and drive the narrative. So the fund that G. Edward Griffin and John Richardson had saved all when they opened the vault. You know, we all open the vault, and these things have been buried.
3 containers of information research that almost went to the garbage.
And we're, those of us are like, we're looking at Professor Krebs and the Krebs cycle. Oh, good, it's not lost. They won't change all of basic life. And so we were just in our heyday a few weeks ago invited to this meeting. But the joy, you know, that we've got this, oh, that idea was good. And we're talking as fast as we can with Robert Scott Bell, because it's like, okay, let's add homeopathy and let's just do that laser and shine that through. And we did that at the Carl Felt Center in Boise, Idaho, and I'd been there before, and Michael's got an Amazon bestseller, A Better Way to Treat Cancer, and so we built that beautiful church community. And then I saw Ian Carroll here, and Ian Carroll's another freedom fighter, and right there in Eagle, Idaho, we've got, you know, the sister church there opened up this year that as Rick Brown went back home after serving there with Godspeed Church and Pastor Ron McCoy. We're here. We built these like almost like an underground railroad, like you see the connectors on your phone. And just like when I think it was Benny showed how it lit up yesterday, and that you could see nothing at all. And I feel that way when we lit up our healing networks. And now all we have to do is step people in, and it is pure joy, and it is all good, and we're in great shape.
Joy.
Welcome to a life-threatening, fun-filled adventure that we're going to win. And if I can say this, I'd like you both to comment on this, and that's this. Everyone that did take that thing, or told their family to take it, you cannot hold on to any guilt, because guess what? if we come together and you wake up, you can clean up, can't you?
Yeah,
But you have to
absolutely.
remove yourself from a toxic environment, whether it's emotionally, nutritionally, physically, you know, from blue light to 5G. I mean, are you a critical thinker? Are you actually thinking? Or what are you doing? Are you watching Netflix or eating donuts? I mean, those people aren't going to make it. They're not going to make it, are they?
Sometimes we know. Well, I mean, it's okay sometimes to eat
No,
a
no, no.
donut.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I
I know,
just
I'm
meant,
kidding. Yeah.
yeah, but you know, after you're done eating the donut.
Yeah, exactly. we do it, no. I'm kidding. I think that's the thing is that our bodies are so much better if we just nutrify and we so much of our food is just not food. It's GMO, and to the point where it's even difficult because we took the cannabinoids and the terpenes. You know, the people
there it is.
decided, the human beings decided they were sober. They say, oh, I don't drink. And when I drink an IPA, and clearly they don't drink because their water's not water, they're drinking those Red Bulls or whatever up there, hopped up on synthetic caffeine. Coffee is actually good for you, but nobody knows about the coffee fruit. Nobody
I know.
knows about the process. Nobody knows that cut tea doesn't have caffeine; it has theobromine. So we're here with Tom Dow and his expertise, like Dr. Rich Orley, who we're always talking about. Minerals according to the genetic code in that great book that is in our library. Look for these for Christmas presents. And I love audiobooks because we're all spending this time where they're spinning out of control. So I do our book club Wednesday nights at 5 o'clock Pacific. And
Where do I go to go on your book club?
We're on X. Dr. Judy A. Mikovits,
Set a
PhD,
reminder.
set a
Great show.
reminder,
Don't
and
miss it.
Benoit will post it on our website, The Real Dr. Judy. So I play the books, and they stay recorded for like a month or so, and we comment and we talk to other people. Like Alex Mayer was on once, and we'll bring in special guests, and we'll even bring in and like for instance, we played the book by Kent and Amber Brantley called For Life. Well, that was Ebola. That book came out in 2016. And why don't we know we just survived Ebola? You know, why do we laugh when they say bird flu? Because of course you're going to see that. You're going to see, because we made vaccines in chicken eggs and we never cleaned all the other bird viruses out of there. Right there in the Corvelva study of before 2017 in Vaccine Court, there it is, avian leukosis virus in the MMR. You know, so where are, bird flu? Well, it's not a virus, it's just a sequence. And we've got the energetics and we're appreciating everything and we're learning how to do. So the fun
it doesn't
right
matter
now,
what virus you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was man-made.
yeah,
Right?
but
Right?
again, the word virus means poison. And so if you're poisoned, and no, not all of them are man-made, but because we are clearly poisoned. I give you the hantaviruses. So the hantaviruses in the desert, they come from the mouse, from mouse poop, because we all have genomes with all our viruses in them, but they're my viruses, they're not your viruses. And so our X chromosome is where we have our antiviral response. That's a snake venom. That's not syncytin that holds the fertilized embryo in the uterine cell wall from Judy or my mom. That's from another mammal. That's from a cow. Well, when we attack what looks like human but is not, because it's monkey, because it's in a monkey kidney cell. Well, monkeys, last time I looked, were mammals and had babies, And again, that same syncytin, the word means synthesize, cyto, cells, together. It's an enzyme that fuses the fusogenic protein that holds the fertilized embryo into the uterine wall. That's implantation. That's life. That's twinning.
Just know I'm trying to keep up right now, okay?
But again, if you do in vitro fertilization, we are sterilizing ourselves.
Yes, we
because
are.
we've got too many other animals and pieces and parts being injected. It was always infection by injection. It wasn't that we
Infection by
made the
injection.
viruses, it's that anything made that way, it's not released from Wuhan and falling
the
on
jab.
it was always injected. It was SARS-CoV-2.
Did
was
you get that?
injected.
It was always injected. Say it and live it.
Stop the jab. Just stop the jab.
Yeah.
And see, this is the brilliance of Bobby Kennedy. SARS-CoV-2 was injected, was made in Vero monkey kidney cell line, that same line that's been used since 1962, and we make multiple freezes of it, and we do more and more and more viruses. We never can clean the old ones out. We don't take anything out so that it's a gamish, so that you don't know what's there. Every polio vaccine since 2004 not only had SV40 in it from the 50s, and
tell them what
Ebola,
can you
and
tell them what
simian
SV40
virus
is?
40, simian virus 40, and it's the 40th virus that a team from Adi Gazdar's lab back at the National Cancer Institute in Fort Detrick were doing work on, and the 40th strain had a spike protein that actually was immunogenic, caused the body to make an immune response. The body said, oops, this is a poison to me. Whereas a similar sequence with only a few changes, we're like, we've got that, we've seen that before, and it doesn't register as a poison. That's why when people change language like exosome, stop. You don't know what you're talking about. And so, and again, and that's not an arrogance, it's just we've changed all the word. Exosome simply means something that's spit out of a cell. Well, a virus is spit out of a cell, an enzyme is spit out of a cell, a protein is spit out of a cell, so that's just not a thing, and it's everything. So your cell doesn't metabolize without things. And viruses can be characterized, according to their family, only with an electron microscope, as a single electron bounces off and gives you an image of where there's an electron dense area, where there's a charge dense area. That, you know, this is what virology is, what a nucleocapsid is, why things like hemagglutinin, they generate a response that is a normal response to being poisoned, and that's how your body innately knows forever. That's why you're exposed to things as patterns when you're young. That's why you don't inject anything. That's why you don't ingest anything. That's why you breastfeed. That's where people get their endogenous cannabinoids. They're natural painkillers. Anandamide means joy. They're natural anti-anxiety medication. So you don't have to give somebody, what all these anxiety drugs, because we never get that in our food. And then we've GMO'd our cows. The milk is terrible. We've taken eggs out of our diet. They're critical. Egg yolks, choline, IGF, not insulin-like growth
I do 3 to
factor.
4 raw eggs a day in my blender drink.
Correct.
I don't want to
But
eat.
I've never been in a grocery store. They dip them in chlorine and everything. Every virus goes in there. So then you cook it in a microwave and cross-link the DNA, and it won't be expressed. So the microwave kills all your food. And this is the problem. All your drugs, all your synthetics, all your pills, they're killed too. If you irradiate, if there's a sell-by date, if you put the chemicals in, they don't tell you all the chemicals because the FDA is the criminal. That's why we need somebody like Bobby, because the FDA and pharma slow-walked the solutions because they have no authority over regulating them. They're food. They're not going to cost you any more than food, and the patents lie in the genius that God gave us and the experience and the knowledge and how to use the technology to heal non-invasively. And that's what we do. And then when we teach practitioners how to do it, then that's health.
Waking up is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Once
your
you wake
subconscious
up,
wants to
yeah.
protect all your prominent, dominant beliefs,
Yeah.
which means that you're just been programmed from the beginning of time what the majority knows, and the majority is going off a cliff right now unless they're waking up.
So you got to wake up, and when you do, you got to get poison out of your life.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. And there are 5 food companies that make 85% of everything in your supermarket.
And they were the tobacco
We need
industry.
to learn how to shop again. It's not just getting red dye, out of one cereal.
Yeah, everybody,
It's
you know,
a
did you ever
complete
notice
relook.
people are fatty? They look for a certain thing. I got to get away from that.
Yeah.
Oh, gluten. It's gluten. If I hear any more, if I hear that gluten thing again, I think I'm going to throw up. Get your digestive tract healed and you can handle gluten.
Well, and because the gluten, like the yeast and the brewer's yeast, have been weaponized. This is the work that Ed Group does in Healing for the Ages. You know, and we put that information up on the website at the Healing for the Ages on our website. The classes, you can go back and edify yourself. You can buy these as Christmas gift. The books are there, and then you can have a conversation with your family, and especially watching Plandemic the musical. Plandemic.com, Plandemicseries.com.
Yeah,
because you
really.
can watch them for free and share them with your family. You know, our website, they're edifying because they're showing the joy. They're showing that God got us back together. A lot of times come to meetings like this, they're waking up, but the families where, like I was saying, Roger Sones talked yesterday, but the first night, Ben Carson, and so, and Tucker Carlson and things like that. So the way they mix the love, and Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, this is just this big fest, this love fest
Absolutely
at Christmas time.
Yeah,
And
it's a celebration.
it really is
We've
a
been
celebration.
through so much, and we're awake now, and that was a really scary thing to just wake up. But now that we're awake, we know what to do.
and you
We're
know
going to
what?
get the poison out of our lives. We're going to go into our house. Imagine what's going to happen. You're going to go into your house and you're going to throw everything out that's made of plastic. You're going to throw every dishpan you have out that's coated.
And
I
if
think
you're-
this speaks to new business opportunities. This speaks to new products. New products going to heal you of all kinds. We're going to get the poison out. It's going to change this country in an amazing way. And it's going to drive all kinds of new businesses that actually serve our health.
And if you're awake, the only thing you can do for your family is to stay awake. You cannot try to wake them. You just need to stay awake. Walk awake. Walk being awake.
Yeah.
Make awake decisions this Christmas at the table. Make awake decisions when you're with the others.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't think you can wake them up, because you cannot crack the egg from the outside in. It's got to be cracked from the inside out.
Good point.
Or you'll kill the chick.
Yeah, good point.
Okay?
Yeah.
Before we end this, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Can you explain to them that caffeine is not a poison, it's an antioxidant, guys?
Caffeine is one of the central antioxidants that most of our families lived on. You know, everything was coffee. Coffee is a crop, one of the first that they weaponized. Caffeine is an essential, nutrient. It wakes
Then why do
up.
I get the jitters? Why do I get headaches then, Dr. Judy?
Because your coffee is poisoned. The process of the beans, of roasting the beans or fire while they do it. And in fact, there's a great company down here. I'm not going to do justice, but she's got the coffee fruit berry, and this coffee is fabulous, and she shows us how they make it. So as Larry was saying, the opportunity, the different kinds of water purifiers. So yes, we're changing products daily because we're doing better at using sound and light waves to increase yields in plants with CO2 and natural extractions, replacing old ways of doing things with ethanol. See, it's not the alcohol, it's the chemicals in the alcohol. So it's the metabolites, the chemicals in your GMO plant. Not necessarily, they don't deliver the nutrients, but more importantly, they gum up the natural microbes in your stomach. Everything GMO. And then the things you don't get that you need the most are things like nicotine. Well, so all of that can be
Remember,
fixed.
nicotine is not addictive, either is caffeine.
And it's not a chemical either. So nicotine and caffeine, they're antioxidants. And tea doesn't have caffeine, it has theobromine. So when you decaffeinate it, the best answer I could get to that question, when you decaffeinate it, it's like using Prilosec or Protonics or proton pump inhibitors. That's the name of the class in drugs. Proton, a positive charge, pump inhibitors. So the fire trucks from those exosomes never go to the fire. They don't know where they're going. They don't have the address. They don't have the zip code, and they don't know what to spray on the fire when they get there.
So you're telling me I should not drink decaffeinated anything?
No.
Because it's carcinogenic.
And it's the processing. It's the processing mixed with the food. And so it's not the caffeine. And in fact, we need it. So when people switch to like all mushroom coffee because they've been lied to, just like, we've been lied to about things like vitamin C or carrot juice. No, we get mixed carotenoids and tocopherol. So when you take rancid vitamin C that has been irradiated in the store, so they have to put the sell-by date on it because they killed it, and it just turns, it just sits there. It's plastic. So we're learning all these shows and taking up, just going back to real farming. And when we do that with the tools we do have, we can heal really quickly. So, but people just use buzzwords, and there's no such thing as a germ either. And our liver makes glucose.
What do you mean there's no such thing as a germ?
Well, look at the word germ. What does it mean? Nothing. A microbe. Well, I mean, sorry, look at a germ. The germ theory. Well, of course it's nuts because there's no such thing as a germ. So how can you have a germ theory?
Okay,
So when people start playing charade games,
elaborate that. Everybody's. I'm going to go wash my hands as soon as I'm done with you. So, please, can you elaborate the germ theory? I know I've been holding you guys here too long.
No, not at all.
We'll go. Well, I mean, because the germ theory in science, it was the slang for Koch's postulates. Well, Koch. Koch's postulates was that you could filter an agent through a micron filter, 10 to the minus 6, or even through a nanofilter. Why don't we say a mask? That we could do an N95 where you're suffocating yourself, a nanometer filter where no virus, 100 nanometer it's called, or 0.2 micron. 200 nanometer is the smallest filter we can put on a flask, a culture flask of cells, so that the oxygen and carbon dioxide chain can go through the humidified incubator. And an N95 is bigger than, you're literally suffocating yourself. But we showed that in only 2 days, if I set a virus-infected flask with a non-virus infected with active virus, not a sequence, in the DNA of the same cells, side by side, the expression from the demethylation, and then the virus goes in and does a new infection to the other cell, literally overnight through the humidified incubator, and you put that on your face and help them. I'm sorry. But again, if we're discerning, sorry, I got caught in that fun story, but see, again, when we're not doing things that make any sense, and when we're, and I see the question. I thought decaffeinated in Swiss water was okay. No, God made caffeine. Learn not to poison your immune system, because when you stop the fire trucks from going to the fire, if your heart races, I think they're calling it AFib or POTS. Yeah. When you're hot, you're being poisoned. That means somewhere you're inflamed, because the last thing is your purinergic modulator. Caffeine is a purinergic modulator like ivermectin. That would be ATP and GTP. the purines that make up the base pairs of all the DNA of the code, purines and pyrimidines. A and G are purines. Pyrimidines are C and T in the DNA. Yeah, that's how the code is written into the language that is exported. So all the people who use these terms that make absolutely no sense know if your heart is racing, you're being poisoned, and you can be killed because you're desensitized to that poisoning. So you will die of throat cancer if you take
Poison pathways.
poison pathways. And if you don't understand how your body's immune system protects those pathways, which terrain? It's not the germ or the terrain, which? Do you want the microbiome in my ears, eyes, nose, and throat? PCR has nothing to do with a Q-tip up your nose in the meninges of your brain. That's rape. And so it's you know, this is, you know, what Jerry from J&J career in fentanyl work. You know, so talk about the fentanyl and how they turned it from good to bad. Talk about J&J, because this is why we're having these conversations.
Dr. Paul Janssen from Janssen Pharmaceutica is the inventor of a series of opiate analgesics that changed the landscape in surgery in a very positive way. But we were discussing last night, my wife and I, that Dr. Paul would turn over in his grave to see what this marvelous invention, you know, which has helped so many people, you know, in the surgical suite, safely, effectively, has now, you know, become the street drug that is killing hundreds of thousands. It would be such a disaster in his mind. And but nonetheless, you know, we meaning Janssen and J&J, a number of great products that really help people, like, you know, like for parasites or for mycology infections. And if you're having surgery, a safe and effective product that, you know, could make you pain-free for 15 minutes, allow you to wake up safely and go home. That's changed. That's changed in a terrible way. And
Everything that starts out good goes.
yeah, we quoted that in the Bible, didn't we? But nonetheless, I think, you know, we're awake now, and we recognize that, you know, for the last 50, 75 years, you know, this huge medical empire, institution, machine that's grown up around us, that's a new development. And while we think, wow, they can take a T cell out of your arm and they can reprogram it and they can do CRISPR and they can do all these things, amazing science. I mean, these guys got to be like incredibly smart. There's only one problem with it. It's not going to deliver a benefit to us.
Nothing.
It's just sparkling,
Nothing.
It's just sparkling technology. None of these drugs are effective. And why?
A medical breakdown, not a breakthrough.
You can't play God. Come on. Who's smart enough to play God? Our system of biology, our brains, our evolution. I mean, why are we here? The plants are here. All the living things are here. Why are we here? Well, we got an immune system. It didn't come from a medical doctor. It's been here since the beginning.
Everything.
When I said we need to go back to the future, I said this to J&J and to others. I said, the future of medicine is plants. And they looked at me and said, don't think so. But the future is nature, and the future is in our history of healthcare. And we have to trust our immune systems and eat healthy and get the poison out, and we'll be fine. And when you wake up and you need help, come to Judy, come to Daryl. You know, we'll open the portfolio to answer your questions, to help you heal your kids, to help you have those conversations, you know, with your community, so that we can all come together and be strong and be healthy again.
It's not the end of the world. You know what? It's not the end of times. And the reality is this: you've got to, you know, forgive yourself, forgive everything, and just move forward and say, look, you know what? If I want a new world, I'm going to have to allow new thoughts, new beliefs, and that's it. Don't let your subconscious stop you from evolving.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, we're going to do a class in early January with me and Pastor Casper McLeod, and we're doing his book, What Was I Thinking? And that is exactly what Daryl's telling you to do now. Because you'll get back into a space with the scripture, and Pastor Casper is a beautiful musician too, so check it out on our website, because that's what we're going to do.
And that's at therealdrjudy.com, right?
Correct.
Okay, guys. All right. And can they go anywhere to get your information? Or
You can visit our website, omnituratherapeutics.com. Love to have you visit our site and sign up for our newsletter. And we're looking for help. We're looking for partnerships, and we're looking for investors. So come and join us.
And just know that both of these two lovely people will be regulars on Braveheart Nation television. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And just remember something, everybody. You don't have to get it all done this weekend. All right? Okay. I wasn't even supposed to be here. Were you? I was told by John Richardson, Daryl, you got to be here. And that was like 6 days ago. And I go, I'm already booked out. And he goes, no, you're not. I guess I'm not. I'm here. Okay, all my love to everyone, and God bless everybody.
Daryl, thank you, and your audience.
Yeah.
Very much. Thank you.
God bless. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.